Hi, welcome to the Metaphysics Hour. I'm your host, Rory Colgan. So, if you've ever listened to a speech from a motivational speaker or somebody from the metaphysical community, you may have been told, if it feels good, do it. Obviously, if you're to take that advice, you will not necessarily always achieve the results that you want, because some things feel good when we're doing it, but produce bad effects later. And the opposite can be true. Some things feel bad while we're doing it, like exercise, but produce great effects later on. So when we look at a simple statement as, if it feels good, do it, we have to realize that that is not necessarily always true. In fact, one of the most ancient texts in our world comes from the Hindu scriptures. There is a book called the Bhagavad Gita. Loosely translated into English, it means the Lord's Song or the Message of the Master. Essentially, this book has some wonderful insight as to the nature of reality and the nature of self and the nature of how self interacts on this plane of existence called the physical. But what I want to bring up is where they talk specifically, the author talks specifically about this concept of a pleasure, something being good in the short term, but being bad in the long term. There's a statement, and I won't be able to quote it verbatim, but it essentially says that some things taste sweet on the first touch, but after time and you digest it, it becomes very bitter. Other things taste bitter, but through time, they actually become sweet as nectar or as honey. That exposes probably a better understanding of feeling and of pleasure and pain. Some pleasure is good, some pleasure is bad. Some pain is good, some pain is bad. So it's a function of understanding the dichotomy and what the point of it all is. One of the more popular talks that I have given in my career was something called the cosmic game of bowling. And it was an analogy to show people that if you're bowling, you have a gutter on one side and you have a gutter on another side. And I made the analogy or the comparison that one gutter is pain, one gutter is pleasure. And the goal of life are the pins in the center, in the actual alley or at the end of the alley. And so any person that tries to shoot just for pleasure or just for pain is going to essentially throw a lot of gutter balls and miss the point of life. So, and anybody that's ever bowled knows that the gutters are actually something that help you gauge your release technique and how you're going to approach actually knocking down the pins with that big ball full of cement. In that point or in that view, we can actually see that pain and pleasure are two sides of the same coin, but they help us have some balance in our lives so that we can progress on our goals with relative speed and ease. Now, one of the things I've heard in the metaphysical community, or perhaps even from a motivational speaker, is the idea that if it feels good, you should do it. My statement, and of course the name of this video, is if it feels good, question it. In other words, we need to question our feelings, not condemn them, not stuff them, not remove ourselves from them, not judge them as either right or wrong, but allow ourselves to actually be analytical with the feeling that we have. And as we become more engaged with our thinking apparatus, we can kind of connect with our emotions and make a more holistic picture. In other words, there might be this moment in time where you want to punch somebody in the face. God forbid you're that angry at somebody, but I was in a workshop recently where somebody said, you know, he gets me so irritated, I want to punch him in the face. And she knew just as well as I knew that that wasn't going to produce any lasting benefit or any lasting change. It was probably going to create a difficult situation in the relationship if she went through with that practice. So the feeling was frustration. But then if she became more conscious of it, she could say, well, why am I frustrated? And she's frustrated because she knows that she needs to do things that don't include this person. But time and time again, she keeps coming back to him. And time again, she keeps coming back to him. And that's where the real frustration is. So it's not with this guy that just talks her ear off. It's the fact that she's not listening to her inner voice or that inner knowing, that inner feeling. And so in this particular instance, she has a feeling or she feels right in a particular sense, but she keeps sabotaging herself, for lack of a better word, in what she feels. And so in other words, she's no longer listening to her intuition. So she's not questioning what feels right. She's not even recognizing what feels right. She's not honoring what feels right. And so instead she feels bad. On the flip side of things, it may feel really good to hit that snooze button. But if you were going to do a yoga practice early in the morning before you got in the shower and went to work, you're probably going to experience the short-term benefit of 10 more minutes of sleep, but you're going to experience the long-term detriment or the bitter result of the fact that you didn't get your yoga practice in, so it can't give you space and a different experience throughout your day. In other words, you're still going to be tired. It's one of the reasons why throughout the years I've meditated in the morning, because I need it in the morning to reset myself, to get engaged back in the physical, but also to start my day off on the right foot, to start my day off with spirit. And so that's why I meditate early in the morning. For some people, meditating late at night's better, or for some people, meditating early in the day is right. Now, it didn't always feel good to meditate early in the morning. So if I did that philosophy, do what feels good, there would be many days that I didn't meditate. And so therefore I would experience the short-term benefit of sleeping 10 more minutes and the long-term detriment of not having a meditative practice or a meditative lifestyle. So this is, again, just to expose the idea that if it feels good, you need to question it. And if it feels bad, you need to question it. In other words, we can't just allow ourselves to be emotional beings. Emotions are an important key. In fact, I write in my book, The Commonly Enlightened, that emotions are the bridge between inner and outer. So we need an emotional system that is strong, not suppressed and not condemned, but something that is truly, truly useful. But we also can't be like a butterfly flitting around only doing what feels good, because eventually we're going to get to a point in our evolution where something's not going to feel good and we still need to go through it. Why? Because we're right at what's called an initiation point. We have to go through the change in order to feel different and to feel better about our choices. I've seen many people get to that point and then drop out. I've seen many times people will not allow themselves to transform from that caterpillar to the butterfly. And as we know in science, it's the caterpillar that's stretching through the cocoon that gives the strength to the wings. And if you were to open up the cocoon for the fledgling butterfly, it would die because it wouldn't have the muscle strength to fly. So sometimes bad things or unpleasant things are really good for us. So again, let me caution you and just remind you that if it feels good, question it. If it feels bad, question it. Unite your reasoning and your emotion, use them together, and have a wonderful, fulfilling life. This is Rory Colgan from the Metaphysical Hour, or the Metaphysics Hour. Please subscribe to this channel, and also, if you feel so inclined, support the show. Go to innerhealthtoday.com and click on financial support. Thanks.